Hey, how's it going? Hey, thanks for tuning in. This is Steve Larsen, and you're listening to Sales Funnel Radio.
Welcome to Sales Funnel Radio, where you'll learn marketing strategies to grow your online business using today's best internet sales funnels. And now, here's your host, Steve Larsen.
All right, you guys. Hey, so I just finished. If you listened to the last episode, I was talking about how I went and I spoke at Local Client Takeover, and that was a lot of fun. Had a whole bunch of fun doing that, and you know, I'm kind of I don't know. The older I've gotten, not that I'm old at all. I'm 29, you know, but the older I've gotten, the more I've realized, like, I truly don't care that much what other people think about me. And what's funny is that. And that's not like a chip off the shoulder way, like, well, I don't care. That's not it at all. It's just I've become far more comfortable with my personality and who I am and the value I think I can bring places and being energetic. And if I feel like I want to yell, like, I'm gonna yell, you know. And that's actually been part of the fun part about having a house now is you know. Man, I'll just start my little girl, my little 1-year-old and 3-year-old. We'll just start running the house like screaming, right? And I'm comfortable doing that in public settings now. Like, there's something to be said about being comfortable with you and self-expression. You know what I mean? So, anyways, so I was speaking at this event, right? Or I was about to go on stage, and this isn't a bash at all on that event. It was really, really good, actually. It was awesome. Honestly, most of it was about SEO. I don't know anything about SEO. I don't really want to know anything about SEO. and so I kind of tuned out for a little bit because that's, you know, my topic was about local funnels and how to structure agencies in order to sell to local businesses, right? And so that's kind of what I did. You know, I went in and I talked about that. But beforehand, what was happening was it was pretty funny. I noticed that the MC, he probably wasn't an actual MC. What he was doing was he was standing up and he was saying, hey, you know, kind of low energy. Hey, welcome. All right, it's time for our next speaker. And here he is. And that was like it. You know, sometimes there was applause, sometimes that was it. And the guy just kind of stood up and it was like, hey. And I was like, oh, man, like, it's, again, nothing against him. I don't think he's an actual MC. I think he's just part of the employee staff that was there. And I was like, gosh, like, that's really, really rough. And what I started thinking about was the time Russell asked me to introduce him to his inner circle. Now, obviously, his inner circle knows who he is, right? And this was at the last Funnel Hackathon event we had. And it just, my mind went back to it, and I started thinking about it. And it was a huge lesson for me, right? And the event's about to start, and Russell's like, okay. He comes to me, he's like, hey, Steven, you know, do you want to introduce me before I go out there? And immediately, like, I got nervous. I was like, man, I don't have any problem, like, speaking. I love speaking. I always want to speak, but I've never introduced somebody. Like, what do you do? What's the structure? What's the model? What does it look like? What's it look like to successfully introduce somebody? You know what I mean? And that might sound like a cheesy, dumb question, but to me, it was a big question, you know? And I was like, dude, yeah, man, but, like, what do I do? And he kind of laughed, and he was like, dude, okay, here's your only goal. This is the only thing that you need to do. And there's a whole point to this whole thing, okay, by the way, so just keep following me here. He goes, okay, all you need to do is I don't really care how you do it. I don't care what you say, honestly. He's like, the only goal that I have for MCs is that before I come on stage, they've got to be at a drastically higher state than before, so that when I come out on stage, I don't need to lift their state. I don't need to spend time putting energy into the room. I don't need to spend any time helping them raise up to me because, you know, I'm kind of a high energy speaker. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Okay. He's like, so that's all you got to do is get out there, whatever it is, elevate the energy in the room, elevate the state in the room. And then I can come out and meet them with high energy. Otherwise, it's weird. You get on stage and everyone's kind of like, blah, like they're not energetic yet. They're not in a state to receive me yet. And I was like, hey, okay, that makes sense. So I went out there and I told this cool story and I think it worked. You know, it's kind of my first time. The first time I did it was a little bit weird. I don't think I hit it. I don't think I nailed it very well. But second time I kind of did better. The third day I definitely did all right. But anyway, So that's kind of what I went up to this MC and I told him, and if he hears this, please know that I'm not at all bashing at all, but it was just really brought me back to that lesson of how important it was. So I walked up to him and I was like, hey, how do I tell this guy that, like, man, you can't be boring, and it's really boring, and be respectful for what, for what he was doing, what the event was. But at the same time, I didn't want to go on stage and have everyone just kind of like sitting there like, okay, dude, like, start talking. What are your gold bombs you're going to drop on me? You know what I mean? Like, they got to be at this higher level of energy so that when they come in, I start to go nuts. It's the reason that Tony Robbins events are parties. If you change your state, you learn better. If you change your state, you receive things better. You act better. You make decisions faster. I mean, I have bad days every once in a while, and I had a bad day just recently, and I was like, crap, and I was telling Russell this, like, and I was like, man, I'm sorry, man, it's kind of a rough day, there's some challenges going on, and I just got to change my state, and so I'll spend some time, like, state control and try and get back into a fiery zone, so that I can produce and be a high producer, right? Anyway, so I went up and I told this guy that, and he did better, and it went fantastic, and it was awesome. On the flight back, I was listening to High Performance Academy. That's something that Russell gave me. It's awesome, by Brandon Burchard, and it's been super awesome. And I was thinking about life, and I was like, hey, I'm not trying to have this be like a super deep podcast at all, just so you guys know, but I was thinking about, like, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish? What are the things I want to be known for? What's my life's work? Like things like that. Like, I want to be purposeful. I want to be driven. I don't want to just be like, what's that? I can't remember what book that is. He's like, most people are just floating around in a river without a paddle. Actually, they have the paddle. They just would rather drift, and just stick the paddle in the water and start going somewhere. Like, most people just take life as it comes. They don't really move in a certain direction. And so I was thinking about all these things, and I was getting an Uber driver, and I sat down, and the Uber app all of a sudden popped up, and it said, your driver is hard of hearing or deaf. Just be aware. And I was like, whoa, okay, cool. So I just thought it should be like, a little bit hard of hearing, but she was like actually completely deaf. And, there was, obviously she can't talk, and she's sign languaging for me to sit in the front and things like that. And it was really, really special. Actually, it was interesting. I have a niece who's completely deaf, and so I have a few cousins, and people, we're all trying to learn sign language and things like that, so they can keep communicating with her, and it's really, really kind of special. But it just it was interesting. So I sat there, and it was dead quiet. There's nothing to say, of course, and which was a little bit weird for me. I usually there's some kind of interaction at least going on. I always like to ask the Uber drivers what's going on with their life and learn what they're doing and see what path they're on, stuff like that. And all of a sudden, I had this thought, like, okay, I've got like 20 minutes before I actually get back. Like, what if I learned some phrases in sign language so that by the time I got out of the car, I could like thank her and ask her some stuff and things like that. And so I discreetly pulled up my phone. I was sitting in the front seat. It's not like she couldn't know. But I was sitting in the front seat, and I started going through, and I was looking up all these sign language phrases, and I was like trying to practice them without moving my hands. And we pull up to the house, and I start like signing, thank you, please be safe, hope you're doing okay, like stuff like that. And her eyes like lit up, and she starts like saying, really fast sign language, and kind of mumbling, and thank you, and hope you're doing well, and things like that. And it was really, really kind of a cool experience. Well, I had Brandon Burchard's High Performance Academy stuck in my head. I had a bit of the high from the event that I spoke at going through my head. I had all these things going through my head. And then to top it all off, there's been this follower who is fantastic. I'm sure I'll introduce him here to you guys shortly. But there's this follower who has reached out over and over and over the course of several months, begging to do something for free for me. And I couldn't believe it. And he reached out again, and it was like all these events started coming together in one cool moment. And I came back upstairs, came inside after the lady dropped me off from Uber, and I came inside, and all these things were just racing through my head. And I was like, I can't go to sleep yet. Like, It was super late. I got back really, really late. I had to go to work in the next morning, just a few hours, but I couldn't go to bed. And I started thinking of all the cool things that had been going on, and just kind of, this is something I recommend that you guys do. Like, the entrepreneurial journey is something that's very interesting. And this is a little side tangent real quick here, but there's a really cool part in one of Robert Kiyosaki's books. I think it was the Cash Flow Quadrant, where he talked about when you are beginning to move forward in entrepreneurship or any kind of thing in business, but particularly entrepreneurship, there's this really interesting phenomenon that happens where as you move forward, let's say, I'll just say it. As you move forward, your character flaws begin to be exposed to you. And it's very uncomfortable. It's painful. And you don't move on until you address that character flaw. Okay? And that's something that he taught. And you think about it, it's totally true. Like, okay, so let's say I was moving on with my business, and there's all these things going on, and I'm just getting things started, but I really can't control my own schedule. Let's say that I just really can't control my schedule enough, and so I never get up on time, and I miss a few crucial meetings, and so the business kind of just sills out and dies, right? That's a character flaw, right? And that happens for every single time you start a business, every time, or anything in business, right? And these character flaws will start to blow up in your face. It's not like it's this soft blow. They will blow up in your face, and you will not move on. Your business will not progress. You will not do anything until these character flaws are taken care of and fixed. And when he said that, I was like, holy cow, that's crazy. And I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. That's interesting, but it stuck with me. And as I began to progress and move forward, and as I've done things in my personal business and stuff with Russell and all over the place, like, character flaws have been exposed, and it's uncomfortable. And so I had that in my head, and I had the stuff with Brandon, and this really cool experience with this, I had this really special kind of quick connection with this lady who was deaf, and I was trying to sign, and this high coming back from speaking, all these things coming on, and then the guy reaching out saying, please let me help you. I see you're struggling in these certain areas. And I kind of just gave in. I was like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I do. Character flaw is like blowing up in my face right now. I'm trying to, I got to fix this one aspect of business. Can you help me? I will not move forward until I get help. And he's been helping, and it's been great. It's been a character flaw of mine that I know in the last 6 months, I've not done as much as I can to be connecting with people and show concern for other people's welfare. It's not that I've been greedy. It's just been so focused that I've not taken the time to connect with other individuals at all, right? So I was trying to do that with the deaf lady. There's a character flaw that I've been fighting with is this whole, and guys, I'm just trying to be super vulnerable. Like, this is uncomfortable for me to say over this podcast, but I'm just trying to be open and honest about it, right? It's been a character flaw of mine to shut in and not express what my actual inner feelings are while I'm progressing on this journey. So I went and I spoke my mind, right? To that MC, and in a loving way said, hey, look, could you not do that in my way? Or, in the way you've been doing it? Here, try it this way. You know what I mean? It's been a character flaw of mine to kind of suppress some energy, and I'm actually much more of an open and out there and very high energy person in my head, but not always in public. And that might shock some of you guys. I'm an extrovert, but there's also this part of me that needs to be alone sometimes to recharge. And sometimes that can be a character flaw for what's going on around me. And it's been a really fascinating last few days for me as I've thought about all these little pieces and all these things, and this guy, and I don't want to just keep calling him this guy, but I want to actually introduce him to you at some point. He's been awesome. He's like, hey man, I love support, and it looks like your support sucks. It's basically, that's kind of what it came down to. And I was like, yeah, my support does suck. I get hundreds of questions a week, and it stresses me out to death. I'm not good at that. It's not that I don't want to talk to anybody. It's just I feel walls closing in. I feel confinement. I feel like I can't, expose myself and get whatever it is. I'm not good at support. I'm good at sales or marketing, I should say. I'm good at speaking. I'm good at those kinds of things of the aspect of the business. And what was really interesting, and I think what kind of started this whole, it's been on my mind in general, but what really started this is on the flight over to go speak 2 or 3 days ago. While I was on the flight, it was about a week ago when I was flying to Utah with Russell. That's what it was. I decided to read and pick up and read Ready, Fire, Aim. And the very beginning of the book was really, really powerful. I haven't got that far into it yet. But while on the flight over there, I just started reading. And there was this really, really funny... It wasn't supposed to be funny, but for the situation I'm currently in, it's been really, really funny, right? Timely, I should say. But it's talking about the different stages of needing to work with other people. And I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. Like, that stuff's been on my mind. And there's been this really, really awesome thing that popped up, while I was reading. And so I underlined it, and I just wanted to read it here. So it's on page 27 of Ready, Fire, Aim. If you guys have ever read that book, highly recommend it. I'm only like 30 pages in, but it's, I can already tell it's going to be one of those favorite books, spots on my shelf kind of thing. Anyways, at the bottom here it says, if you make it a practice to hire people with potential, the potential to do a particular job as well or better than you can do it, your business can grow. This way, with each tier being promoted to the next level and each stage of growth giving rise to the new level of challenge and reward for your employees. Smart entrepreneurs will encourage their employees to hire subordinates who are as good and capable as they are. If you're not doing that, start doing it now. It will make everything easier later on. And gosh, this is just so key. It's so amazing. And it's not that I've been afraid to do that. It's funny how relevant that is to me right now. Okay. Smart entrepreneurs will encourage their employees to hire subordinates who are as good and capable as they are, if not better. And I thought that was so important. You guys, you'll not do it alone. You won't do it alone. If you're going to do it, if you're going to try and do it alone, you'll get there to a certain extent. Like, don't go out and just try and start hiring people. Russell always says, hire when it hurts, hire when you're in pain, hire when you can't handle it anymore. But know that that overall, like, you're not going to be able to do it alone. You have unique abilities that you're really, really good at, and you have stuff that you suck at. And it's cool to know what those things are, and it's totally fine. If you don't know what those things are, don't worry, just start moving. And like Robert Kiyosaki said, the character flaws will start blowing up in your face, and start taking note of that, and take some humble pie and just be like, okay, well, that's what it is. That's fine. I don't need to be the best at everything in the world. That's not possible anyway. So, okay, what am I really, really good at? Focus on those things, hire out on the other parts, and super, super powerful. So anyways, it's just really interesting to start thinking through all those things, okay, not going to do it on your own. Understand that you got some character flaws going to pop up. I understand this is not like a normal episode for Sales Funnel Radio, because it's not totally about sales funnels, but as you guys begin to build or continue to build, just recognize that if you haven't done so before, that there are flaws inside of you, and that's fine. Just know that it's going to be way better to find somebody else to go hire and help you out. And what's been so cool is, this other guy's been helping me out. Like, man, it's been awesome to take stuff and put it on his shoulders, and he's come back and be like, yeah, totally fine, I can do that. And by the way, I've done X, Y, and Z also while you're gone. And you're like, what? Oh my gosh, I hired somebody as capable as I am, but in a different area, a different specialty, you know what I mean? And it's been amazing. It's been so cool. The level of stress has dropped dramatically in my life, and I didn't expect that. I thought that I would have to manage this person a lot. I thought I would have to, not like judging him. It's just, I've never really done this before, so I assumed that you would have to do heavy management of the situation, and as long as you can hire a few rock stars, go for it. And so my question became, a couple weeks ago, while I realized I needed a person, I needed something, I needed someone, and I started looking around, I started making, little tiny hooks out there to just see, like, okay, this isn't something I want to take care of, it's not something I can focus on, I want to stay focused with ClickFunnels and my current thing. But like, there needs to be some attention in the support area, because I'm getting hundreds of questions a week and I can't handle it. And, but I tell people that they should ask me questions. So I'm like, crap, like that was anyway, it's like vicious little cycle there. So, but it's been cool to go out and vet people out. And so what I've been doing to vet people is give them like a little task and see how they react to it. I was talking to Dan Henry, and hope Dan's fine with me sharing this, but he was saying, he's like, dude, when you go out, and I actually talked to a lot of people. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 5 entrepreneurs. I was like, hey, what'd you do in this scenario? Hey, what'd you do in this scenario? And I got all the feedback from all these different people, and I said, hey, cool, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? What are you doing here? And how do you actually hire these people? And or how do you find this person overall? Because you could hire anyone off the street, but like they may not be that very good. So how do you find someone who's good and willing to go the extra mile and who's just full out in love with you? And basically it was, hey, see who's willing to do it for free. Not that you're going to be freeloading on them, but you need to find someone who's passionate and who would do it for free because they love your brand. They love what you do. They love the things and the direction that your business is going in. So find somebody who would do it for free and actually doesn't ask for money and does a few tasks without asking for anything and excels in them and pushes forward and babysits the business a little bit and acts like it's their own. And find that person. And 2 or 3 days ago, I realized it was this certain person, and I was like, oh, okay, he's the guy. And okay, so let's do this. And it was this big character flaw moment for me also. I got to give off some control and trust in a certain area, and it's been amazing. So anyways, I'll bring him in here at some point, and they'll do a little interview because he's got a cool story as well. So, but for right now, that was basically it. I basically wanted to... This whole podcast, I just, when I came home and I didn't want to go to sleep, I just went to my whiteboard and it just started brain dumping all over the place. All these things around my head. And the common theme around all of it was this whole thing. Wow, I have character flaws. I'm totally fine with that. I got to find someone because I'm not going to be able to do it on my own. And that's fine. And it's been fun to push forward in that area. So anyways, guys, hopefully that was helpful and super excited for all the cool things coming up. Hope you guys all got the Expert Secrets book from Russell Brunson. If not, go to expertsecrets.com. That book's amazing. I just barely got mine in the mail, and I feel like I got to put it in a glass case or something. These books have done more for me than my marketing degree, and that's not to badmouth education at all, but seriously, these are like the Bibles of marketing. Like, it's brilliance that the man's putting there. So anyways, guys, this was a fun one, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Sales Funnel Radio. Please remember to subscribe and leave feedback. Want to get one of today's best internet sales funnel for free? Go to salesfunnelbroker.com/free funnels to download your pre-built sales funnel today.